Hello everyone, welcome to this session. So let's get going and understand what's the agenda for today first. First of all, we will understand the systemd essentials as I said, systemd is actually the procedure of starting and stopping services for the newer version of Linux distributions like CentOS 7, Red Hat Linux 7. These use systemd as the background manager which takes care of the services which need to be started, stopped, or uh, in order to check their behavior, the status. So everything is managed by a daemon called systemd. So earlier to that, when we used CentOS 6 or CentOS 5 versions of Linux, or you can say Red Hat 5 and 6, so these Linux distributions did not have systemd. They had another way of managing the services that was called systemv. Okay, so that is the way in which you start services with the service command. So you just write service and then the service name and then start, stop, reload, or restart. So that was the old way of doing, manipulating services. So the new way, which is relevant for CentOS 7 and Red Hat 7, that is the systemd, and the command used is systemctl instead of service. Okay, and the syntax is a bit different as well. We'll discuss that. So today's agenda in the beginning would be understanding systemd essentials, and then we will move on to understand the systemctl commands for starting, stopping, and managing services. And then we will move on and understand another very useful command in the systemd perspective, that is called the journalctl. So these three are the points for today's agenda. First of all, Linux distributions have increasingly transitioned from other Linux systems to systemd. So this is the first phrase, which means that the distributions which we have used over time in Linux have moved from various kind of service initialization systems. Those are called init systems, and now they have moved on to systemd. This is the latest suite of tools which provides a very fast and flexible init model for managing the entire machine from boot onwards. So systemd, what it exactly does is it starts the services in a perfect sequence when the system boots up. Earlier that same thing was managed by systemv, but now this is a more advanced way of managing services. The basic objective that systemd manages is acts upon a unit actually. The basic object which systemd manages acts upon a unit. Like each and every service here in systemd is basically known as a unit. Okay, it could be a group of services as well or a single service. So in systemd language it's called unit. Okay, a unit would have a unit file inside which there would be various directives that would mention which service would be enabled and which file would be executed for that, and what all dependent scripts will be run after that service is executed, what config files would be loaded when a certain service is running, and stuff like that. So everything is managed by systemd. Later on you will know that you don't have to get much into the internals of systemd day to day, because every day as a system admin you will just have to start, stop, or reload a service or check the status. But if you know the basics of systemd, then that allows you to understand how a systemd service actually works and how to troubleshoot them. So these are the various aspects of the systemd uh, essentials, and in order to manage services in systemd we use systemctl command. And finally we have another component called journald, which is a daemon which collects and manages journal entries. So what are journal entries? Actually, when a service runs, it might throw errors, as well as it might give you some warnings or even information like service is running perfectly fine, or the service is having some problems or faces some issues. So all these are logged somewhere. So now journal-D is a very nice way of logging the output of various services. So whatever outputs or errors are thrown from a service, that is collected by journal-D, and then there is a command called journalctl, using which you can view those logs and then do the debugging. Okay, so this is how systemd along with journalctl or journald, uh, both these commands, systemctl and journalctl, come together and provide you a very good uh, tool set in order to find out the problems with your services, and they also help you to know the status of services, start, stop, restart, reload, and resume services, whatever the need of the hour might be. So first of all, let's try a set of commands using systemctl, so that you get an understanding how systemctl is going to work in different cases. And while using these commands, you would be able to remember these commands as well, so that you can use them anytime when you are having a CentOS 7 or a Red Hat 7 Linux system. And even all the Ubuntu distributions of Linux are adopting systemctl now onwards, and most Linux distributions would move to systemd, and obviously systemctl commands would be used everywhere to start and stop services in Linux. So this part is very important. So for trying these commands out, I have started a virtual machine with CentOS 7 loaded in it, and this is the terminal from which I am connected to the system. You can install your CentOS 7 in a virtual box and log into that terminal. So first of all, here we will try a command, systemctl status, and say we want to check the status of the cron daemon. The cron daemon actually uh, is a scheduler which can run various commands or scripts which you schedule on a particular time. So let's check that service, the cron service. You can use any service, but cron is a small service, so it would start stop pretty quickly. So let's choose that, systemctl status cron d. So what does it show? The service is inactive or dead, and the configuration file is present and it's loaded and enabled, but the service is dead. That means this service is not running right now. So here comes the next command, systemctl start crond, or any other service which you want to start. So this is how we check the status, and then this is how we start the service. So now we don't get any output because the command ran successfully. If the command has a failure, then normally there is some error thrown in the screen, and we can even run the status command once again and check whether the inactive part is gone or not. So here now the output shows that the cron service command scheduler is active and running. Okay, so this gives the status of the service, that the file is loaded, it is active, as well as it shows other files and configurations which have been loaded along with this daemon. So that is it. So this service is running. Now let's check some other commands, start, stop, restart, reload. Okay, so systemctl can have all these options. We have already used the start option, so next we can use the stop option. Now let's start it again, so that also works. Now say a command is, a daemon is running and you just want to restart that daemon once again. Then you can simply write restart here. So now what it does, it stops the daemon and then starts it. So at any time you can even check the status once again and see yes, it's running because it was restarted last time. So now let's clear the screen and try another command option, that's the reload command. What is the reload command and how is it different from the restart command? Let me tell you. If I do a reload, it just executes. If you check the status, shows that the daemon is running 31 seconds ago. That was the last time we restarted the service. So in case of reload, what it does, it doesn't actually restart the entire daemon and doesn't kill the PID or the process identifier file which was created when a service was run. So what it does, it just reloads the configuration. So if you make any configuration changes to a file for a daemon, then those configurations would be reloaded without having to restart the service. This is particularly essential for production systems, like say you have a web server and there are lots of clients logging into that web server and everyone is live on that website. So you would not say you made some changes in the config file for Apache and you want to load that config file. For that you have to restart the service, systemctl restart httpd. But since this is a production server, you cannot restart without having a maintenance uh, window. So in such cases where you don't want to restart and you don't want your users to get kicked out of the site, so in those cases you do a reload. Reload will silently reload the configurations without restarting the service or killing or kicking out any user who have a session present. So that is why we do a reload. It silently reload the configurations only without restarting anything. So that is a pretty useful command as well. And apart from that, this command status service name.service, this we have done. Next, this is very important, systemctl enable or disable service. Say we want cron to run every time when the system reboots. Okay, let me explain again. Say when the system runs, there is no guarantee that the service would run, because unless we mention the service that this service should run when the system starts. Say you have a database and you want your system to run that database each and every time the system boots. So what you have to do in such cases, you have to enable that service to run at boot time. So there comes the command systemctl enable and then the service name. Like as I said, if it was the database, I would write mysql d, or if it's the cron service which we are trying right now, so I will do systemctl enable cron d. When I do that, it actually enables the service to run at boot time. Okay, so here you can see this is that option which tells you that the service is enabled to load at boot time. Similarly, you can disable the service so that it will not load at boot time. If you do that and check the status, you can see here it has been disabled. Vendor preset is enabled. That means this service was actually enabled when it was installed, but now we have disabled it. So now let's re-enable it. So again, systemctl enable cron d. Now if we check the status once again, we can see it's enabled. So this service will run at boot time. So this is how we enable and disable services at boot time. So this part is done. Next command is systemctl list units. This is very important. As I said, systemctl treats each and every service as a unit which it reads from a unit file. So this is the command where you can see all the services which are associated with systemctl. So this is the syntax. So here you can see these are the unit files. These are nothing but files which have the information of various services and when or where they should be loaded during boot time. So that is the entire thing. All the services can be found here, and here you can see whether the current status is active or running or not. Okay, so these are the services which failed, these are the services which are running, these are the services which are still being loaded and stuff like that. So this is how we check all the services or list all the services. If someone wants the list of all the services running in a certain system, then you can take the output of systemctl list units, and then finally you can grab whatever you need out of that and then provide it. Now there is a slight variation of this command. So here we get list units all. What it does, it also gives all the inactive services as well. Here you can see lots of inactive services. So these are also present. But in the previous command, dead inactive services are normally not printed out. So that is the option, systemctl list unit alls. Now list unit files, there you would get just the name of the unit files for the services. Okay, there was a typo. So here we get list unit files. So here we just have the file names of all the services present, and here is whether it was enabled or disabled to run at boot time. Okay, so this is it. And static means that is a system service, and it is static. That means it will run every time and will be initiated by the system. So that is how we get all the service names. This command is particularly important, list unit files. And then the interesting thing is systemctl can even control the rebooting or power offing of a server. Like you can use the systemctl command to power off, start a reboot, or go into the rescue mode as well using that command. I'm not running it right now because I don't want to shut down the server right now. So you can try it sometimes when you finish your work. You can write systemctl power off. That would shut down the system for you. And if you write reboot, then it would reboot the entire system and all the services. And this one is important, systemctl rescue. This takes you to the rescue mode in case of any problems with the bootloader or any other critical system where you want to go to the rescue mode to fix that. So these are the various options of the systemctl. And finally, as you have stopped the service, you might want to know more about the status of the service instead of what is given here in the status command. Like here, just we get a few lines of the log, like the scheduler has been started, and so PID number daemons are running, and these are the various events that are going on in the cron daemon. Say you want to know the detail of all the services and everything that is going on in the systemctl, then for that there is another daemon called journalctl, which logs everything, and you can use that command to get that log. Okay, so this is the simple command journalctl, which throws the entire log into the screen, but it is a very big file output because it throws the entire output of events occurring in the kernel. So there are thousands of lines over here. Now you might be wondering that how can you parse this file and know what is relevant for you. For that, there are several switches with the journalctl command. Like if you give the -b switch, then it would only show you the logs from the boot time, like when the server was booted today. So since that time it would show the logs. So this log would be a bit smaller than the entire log if I just write journalctl. So this is it with the -b option. Similarly, if you want to see just the kernel messages, you can give the -k option. So it will just show you the kernel related outputs and not anything from the other services which are running. So this is how the journalctl command works. You can even do this and check the other switches which are available with the journalctl command and try them according to your needs. So this is all about how systemd actually works, how we deal with the systemctl commands in the newer version of Linux, and this is how we deal with the journalctl commands to see all the log entries and debug any problems with the services. So both these commands give you a very powerful tool set to resolve issues with services, start, stop, and maintain your services in Linux. So practice these commands and then they would be very useful for your day-to-day system admin activities on Linux. Thanks for your time. Thanks a lot.